Good mid-morning. I have had quite a morning and I'm playing with a fun filter I didn't even know I had access to as I'm starting to ring in the new year, or anticipating ringing out this year, in day 364. What? And I'm sitting on my deck. We've been gifted a spring-like day here. My dogs and I are out enjoying the birds singing. Literally, a week ago, we were in negative double digit temperatures. We were inside for days because it was even too cold, at least for us here, to really go out and enjoy. Like it was a beautiful white Christmas, but it was an indoor one. Hey, good morning. Um, and I've titled today, um, Pearls of Joy and Wisdom. And we're going to talk about Revelation 21. And what I might do, and I've done this only a couple of times before, is read right from the Bible. Let the words, and I'm going to do that. First, I'm going to ask you to set aside your brain for a minute. Any preconceived beliefs or notions, just park that aside for a minute. Come with an open heart, an open mind, because this is a book of visions, a book of mystery. I might even turn this filter off so that's not that distracting. Um, that was kind of fun for a minute, but anyway, and just park your intellect to the side for a minute, and anything that you've been taught, come childlike, like you're listening, like a child listening to a magical story that you maybe read, was read to you as a child, or that you read yourself. And just come with that. Like listen let your spirit listen, and then even think. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, "Look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or sorrow, or crying or pain. All these things are gone forever." And the one sitting on the throne said, "Look, I am making everything new." And then he said to me, "Write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true." And he also said, "It is finished. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. All who are victorious will inherit all these blessings, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But cowards, unbelievers, the corrupt, murderers, the immoral, those who practice witchcraft, idol worshippers, and all liars, their fate is in the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death." Then one of the seven angels who held up the seven bowls containing the last of the seven plagues, or seven last plagues, came to and said to me, "Come with me, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." So he took me in the spirit to a great high mountain, and he showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. It shone like the glory of God and sparkled like a precious stone, like jasper, as clear as crystal. The city wall was broad and high, with 12 gates guarded by 12 angels, and the names of the 12 tribes of Israel written on the gates. There were 3 gates on each side: east, north, south, and west. The wall of the city had 12 foundation stones, and on them were written the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. The angel who talked to me in his hand held in his hand a gold measuring stick to measure the city, its gates and walls. And when he measured, he found it was a square as wide as it was long. In fact, its length and width and height were each 1,400 miles. Then he measured the walls and found them to be 216 feet thick, according to the human standard used by the angel. The wall was made of jasper, and the city was pure gold, as clear as glass. The wall of the city was built on foundation stones, inlaid with 12 precious stones. The first was jasper, the second sapphire, the third agate, the fourth emerald, the fifth onyx, the sixth carnelian, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates were made of pearls, each gate from a single pearl, and the main street was pure gold, as clear as glass. I saw no temple in the city, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city has no need of sun or moon, for the glory of God illuminates the city. The Lamb is its light. The nations will walk in its light, and the kings of the world will enter the city in all their glory. Its gates will never be closed at the end of day, because there is no night there. And all the nations will bring their glory and honor in the city. Nothing evil will be allowed to enter, nor anyone who practices shameful idolatry and dishonesty, for only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. So this is what we've had. Like, every chapter of Revelation has been this amazing story of visions where John is taken in the spirit around and saying, of course, he doesn't literally see something that is 1,400 miles long. That's impossible for somebody to see that, I guess, unless you're way up in space. Maybe somebody could see something that was a 1,400 mile square on each side. But anyway, so you have to go deep with the spirit in order to understand the spirit and the visions. And where my mind went this morning, I'm titling today "The Pearls of Joy and Wisdom," was the pearly gates. That each of the gates, of course, a lot of us have heard that terminology, like, when I get to the pearly gates of heaven, this is where that came from, this vision. But what is a pearl? Like, go deep with what a pearl is. And even jewels themselves. Jewels are something that come from the bowels of the earth, through a refining process, through much hardship, but that's part of their preciousness and rarity often, and why we value them so much, because they're hard to get to, you can't create them. The man-made versions aren't as valuable, but it's a natural process that the earth even goes to create these things. And the pearl is a biological gem that comes from a living thing. And it's an oyster. We know they come from oysters, but it's when a grain of sand or even leftover food that it's eaten, there's something in there that's irritating it. So it creates the substance that it uses even to create its own shell, and it starts to coat the irritant. And then it keeps coating it. And then we get this thing called a pearl. So that this animal has created something that started out as an irritant, and it now is able to live in harmony with it without it being irritated. Let's let go there metaphorically for a minute, and with the human. And even all the imagery that we're given here about how there will be no sorrow, no pain, none of the normal irritants of humans in heaven. But there's a new heaven and a new earth. The old heaven and the old earth disappeared. This is not some far off place. This is something that you can experience here and now. When you go through the refining process of humbling yourself, allowing yourself to be humiliated, dying to the ego, letting the ego fall away, which is a process. It is a refining process that is, many might start on it and then they go, forget this, I'm out of here. I don't want like, some people start on it, it's like the parable of the seeds that Jesus has that are thrown on the ground. Only one of those seeds is going to take root, the one that's willing to be humbled and to go through the entire process. And part of that process of the growth of allowing love, grace, mercy, all those things to come into your life and refine and humble you. They can't refine you until you're allowed, until you willingly die, and enter into the humbling process of love and grace. It's, I'm just a baby on this journey. I'm a little seedling trying to take root. I'm thirsty. That's another image that's given here. To all those who are thirsty, I will freely from the springs of, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. And as you humble yourself and you fall in love, with life, with God, with the process of humbling, your fruits of the Spirit start to grow: gentleness, kindness, meekness, like all of those things, self-control, like all of those start to grow. That gives us the ability to turn those irritants into pearls, into joy. Have you ever met people like that? Like when you give the label of a wise person or maybe a sage, or, those words that we have, and they seem to have that peace that surpasses all understanding. They have a joy to them, even if they're in the midst of suffering. That's talked about a lot throughout the Bible too. Like, what is that? That is a person who's been able to take the irritants of life and coat them in their pearls of experience, in God's love too, because that now is in part of their beingness. They're taking the strength of God's love and grace and learning to coat those irritants and turn them into pearls of joy. And in this second death, in order to get to being this type of person who can experience the new heaven and the new earth and humility and all that, like the characteristics and practices of idol worship and idolatry and, lying, deceit, all of those kind of 7 deadly sins and the fruit of those, they can't coexist. It's oil and water, can't mix. So you have to be willing to die to all of that. And to even, as those inclinations in you come up, because they do, that's the ego's job. You, the real you, who is in alignment with God, with all life, with light, with love, can just notice those things and start to coat them in a new coating and transmute them, become an alchemist in your own life. This is what love does. It allows you to become a modern day alchemist. You can take the energy of what your ego might want to do, hold judgments, hold on to hurt and bitterness and anger and sadness. Not that even when you learn to coat those things in love and create pearls out of them, not that you don't experience sadness. Like when a loved one dies, when a beloved dies, even the most enlightened person, or whatever word you want to use, who kind of has maybe allowed themselves to be become a pearl or have full of pearls, whatever that looks like, or has gone through the pearly gates, they feel sadness, but there's not the same type of sadness where somebody is devastated beyond being able to be recovered because their identity was staked in the things of this world, in people, in their relationships. This is the difference. When you fully are, your identity is in Christ, in God, in the universe, in the oneness of it, and that is who you are, and your identity is not tied to or dependent on being the wife of, the husband of, the mother, daughter, like all of those things, or the owner of, or the title of, or like that was what Jesus, like, he harped on that. And then Paul came and did the same thing, and John, and this is the mess that they're trying to get you and I to get your identity out of the things of this world so that you can be fully in the world and in love with it, but not so attached to it that if something shakes that, or because people die and the seasons end and seasons of life end. And if we're too caught up in that, and that's where our identity is, we crumble, we're devastated. And many people don't recover. We have high rates of crime and suicide and divorce. We have that evidence all around us that people don't know what to do when that part of their life gets shaken and crumbled. So why not find our identity in the Alpha and the Omega, in the beginning and the end, in the unchangeable, like in something that is steadfast, and the energies of things that survive the rule of kings and kingdoms and rise and fall of nations and weather cycles. Like, let's stake our identity in that energy of love in God, so that we can handle the ups and downs and changes and turmoil of life, and even be able to always see the silver linings and turn all of our experiences in, and because we're open to it, we're not closed off, we're open to it, and we're even coding it. Oh, that's irritating me. I see that. What can I coat that with in love and joy and wisdom, and be open so that I can live with it and create even a thing of beauty. Oh, you can go so deep here. Wow, this book is not disappointing as I'm finishing out this year. I'm going to reread this book probably lots and lots of times. I don't know that I'm going to share it in the same way. But man, it's been an adventure. And for those of you that have tuned in at any point along the journey, or even after this journey, putting it out in the world and let it be what it is. And even as my own, I had my humble crumble when I hit the book of Mark. And I could feel that dam breaking, the dam weakening of my belief system and what I thought was a solid foundation. And, my goodness, that I was like, look at me. And even the ego of reading the Bible and sharing it, and how, and putting it on display, and still being willing to show it up, like that humility, like, I hope that might be my life's legacy of anything. Like, hopefully I will. When you're willing to be humble and go through the humbling process, life will not disappoint with opportunities to practice. So be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. But thank you for those. I've got one more day. I thought about maybe I'll actually get some bird seed out tomorrow. Maybe we'll celebrate and throw some bird seed in the air for the birds. And maybe I'll get a silly little hat or something and blow a horn for the ring in the new year as I head into whatever the words lighten up are going to mean to me. God gave me those words a few weeks ago. And so we'll see what the Lighten Up adventure is going to be. For those of you that do, I am going to go back and put all of these into a nice email format like I started doing a couple months ago. So message me if you want to be put on the Rise and Shine email, and get all of this in an organized format delivered to your email. And I'll go back and start organizing what I did January 1 of 2021. No, 2022. Oh my gosh, losing track of time. When you're on this adventure with God, time starts to be experienced differently as well. But anyway, that's the side. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit trail with you. But I just want to thank you. Listening to the book of Revelation through my eyes and through what has landed on me, I hope you open it up for yourselves. This whole book of the Bible, this life manual, and let go of what you think you know. Come to it with an open heart and an open mind, and let it really be the living word, become the living word in you, because we are supposed to be a light in the world for love, for grace, for creating the fruits of the Spirit. And I believe that Jesus is only one path, because my God that I believe in, that talked to me through this book, did not limit this experience of love to only people that have heard the name of Jesus. It just does not jive or compute with me. But this is my path. This is the one I dance with that brought me to the dance of love. So I hope that we have a spiritual dialogue of an ecumenical one that is open for all who are on the path of the way. Jesus did come to show the way. But I think anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And sit here and read between the lines. Let the Spirit talk to you. This is the most important time that you can spend as a human being, is feeding your spirit. And it helps the rest of life fall into place and help you handle all the irritants of life and transform them into pearls. And you will have a joyful life, even in the midst of sorrow and suffering and trouble and tribulation. And you will be able to help others do the same, and come alongside people in their suffering and comfort them as God has comforted you. Still my anchor verses of the whole Bible, the God of all comfort. Anyway, I got our hair still on my glasses or something. Anyway, I love you. Rise and shine one more day. Woo! And I'll go, I think, I'll leave tomorrow to be a mystery and let it unfold as it's supposed to. I'm not going to make any plans. All right. Love you. Bye.